Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. We're live, and today's episode, we've got some pretty fun topics lined up for you. First, we're starting off with how Australia has passed the world's first social media ban for users under the age of 16. Uncle Joe has pardoned his son, Hunter. Everybody loves a good crackhead let free. And finally, we're going to wrap the episode up with Mexico's new president is out here calling out Trump, calling out the challenge. So we got a lot in store for you, so buckle up. But with that being said, in the co-anchor, driving the passenger side here, I couldn't be more excited. My good friend, Will Hebert. How you doing, Will?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. For those who don't know, I'm usually on Alexander's football podcast, but now I guess I'm stepping up to the big leagues.
That's right.
Little tougher subjects in the Browns. Those are a bit easier to talk about. So thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, and on the keys as always, Douglas, how you doing today?
Oh, just dandy. Got some Cavs gear on. A little chilly, so have my hat on. I don't have a nice heating vent above me like you guys do over here.
Yeah, poor Doug is just complaining how cold he is. It's almost
chilly
like
over here, man.
It's almost like we live in Ohio.
It's getting rough out here.
Right? And let's bring in the Pickle Gallery, Silent Destroyer, and Ricky from Just Another Day TV. How you guys doing today?
Doing great. How are you, Alex?
We outside, y'all.
That's right.
I hope not, man. It's cold.
Yeah.
just a notice, guys. Winter has not begun yet, technically, for another like 23 days. So get ready.
That's wild. That's wild. I've been ready to ski for the last like month. It's been
Ohio
so cold.
doesn't get the memo when it comes to when winter starts.
Yeah.
It's just a fall day.
Winter starts for us in the middle of summer. We get all seasons all year round. And you know what they chalk it up to? The lake effect.
The lake effect.
The lake effect.
Good old lake.
Yep.
Can't miss it. Can't miss it, man.
Yep.
All right, so diving into the first topic here. This is pretty wild. We have the first social media ban that the world has seen, and it's finding itself in Australia. It's so funny that Australia is a country founded by prisoners, right? These are the prisoners of like the Great Britain Empire, and they revolted, made their own country, and now they're like the most over-policed country. And you know what? That's right in line with Britain too. I mean, see what they're doing. But it's just funny because the pandemic was like the first sign. My whole life was like, I want to go down to the Bobby down south, like, hey. And now it's like, I don't want to be found there at all.
The closest thing I'll ever come to Australia is Outback Steakhouse. That's after all this, that's the furthest I'll go.
The Bloomin' Onion is the extent at which
Can't beat it, man. Can't beat it. Can't beat their laws either, but you can't beat the Bloomin' Onion.
Well, speaking of the wildness of their laws, the Online Safety Amendment bill bans social media platforms from allowing users under the age of 16 to access their services, threatening companies with fines up to Australians $50 million if they fail to comply. However, it contains no details about how it will work. Only that the companies will be expected to take reasonable steps to ensure users are the age of 16 or over. The detail will come later through the completion of a trial of age assurance technology in mid-2025. The bill won't come into force for another 12 months. The bill also does not specify which companies the legislation will apply to, though Communications Minister Michelle Rowland has said that Snapchat, TikTok, X, Instagram, Reddit, and Facebook are likely to be a part of the ban. YouTube will not be included because it's a, quote, significant educational purpose. Yeah, right? Interesting. The new law was drafted in response to what the Labor Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says is a clear, casual link between the rise of social media and the harm to mental health of young Australians. Here's the sad part is Silicon Valley and these social media groups have kind of done this to themselves, right? We experienced about 2 years ago was the Facebook whistleblower. And that was like a pivotal moment when somebody within the mechanism is calling alarm to the dangers within these systems.
Right.
So something like Facebook is what did this lady even make us aware of? Not just there's dangers, but that Facebook, through you being the lab rat, its science has indicated that you are more likely to engage in something that upsets you. And so they purposefully make an algorithm, your feed, of interests that really don't, maybe make you happy or spark, any type of interest or excitement, but more so things that will trigger you. And it always felt bizarre that I'm logging onto Facebook and I'm not seeing you or Doug, like people that I'm seeing daily. Like I'm standing next to you every day, but I'm not seeing your post before some asshole I haven't seen in high school for 15 years. And it's like saying something that is so inflammatory, I feel compelled to have to go fight them. I'm my thumb warrior. So it's just you look at like the Prime Minister of Australia and you go, whoa, is this a bit of an overstep? But at the same time, you look at the companies and their track record, and it's like you've done almost everything to require this type of interference.
I don't know. I guess, sure, I could view it as an overstep. There was just one, when you mentioned YouTube and they mentioned it being like educational, that was like the excuse given to why that one was allowed. I don't know how then you argue against, for instance, last week's episode regarding TikTok. Like I view TikTok as very informational and educational.
Right.
More so close to YouTube, unless I'm looking up how to fix like my headlight or something like that.
Right.
You know?
Bingo. Great point.
So I don't know. I don't necessarily care. I think like young people, like funny enough, like they get it for 12 months. So what happens after 12 months? Does their digital footprint disappear? Or like, is it just like shut down until what? They're 16 and they
so
can
like
use it again?
a 14-year-old has a digital footprint right now. Does it just disappear?
Exactly. Like,
or like the dead internet theory,
Mhm.
will accounts of 13-year-olds still linger, just the user themselves won't be there.
right. Like what? Once they're 16, they can log back into their Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. And it's everything from when they were however old they are when this was passed after 12 months to then, or do they have to start over fresh and everything before then was purged?
Well, and I love you bringing it back to YouTube. Like YouTube being the one that they find value in where the others are a danger. And it's funny that, like, again, goldfish syndrome, we just so easily forget the scandals of like the big company warlords that dictate us. But you look at YouTube, they had a major scandal where companies were hiding perverse and like obscene, adulterated material within the children's material. So it'd be a child's cartoon, and unless the parent was sitting there watching and digesting it with them, they didn't notice that like in the middle of it, Elmo just starts like cracking bottles and shaking folks. And sometimes it would just totally leave the program. It would start off as Cocomelon and then evolve into just some like guy that's like, don't tell your mom and dad, blah, blah, blah. And that was a major thing on YouTube. They did a lot of work and effort to curb it, but are we going to sit here and pretend that's still not an issue they're dealing with?
It's got to be an issue they're still dealing with.
Exactly.
Like
just
YouTube
on sheer numbers.
YouTube used to be the wild, wild west before all these other platforms started arising, and now they're all like the wild, wild west. But it's like you brought up like the Facebook whistleblower. Well, like, what about the Twitter files from like what,
Bingo.
2 years ago? It's like another like expose on like just the corruptness behind all these social media platforms. But what, YouTube gets a pass?
Well, and I thank you for bringing up the Twitter files and bringing that.
And that was like around 2 years ago.
Yeah,
like,
literally. And so, okay, Elon Musk buys Twitter, releases all the information that proves that they directly collaborated with the FBI and the Biden administration, our federal government. It wasn't even a month later that Zuckerberg was on Facebook, clearly like a poor little 14-year-old boy at a confessional, just like, I feel so guilty. I sold out the American public and censored and manipulated the people for the government. Man, if you aren't looking into the eyes of like a guilty conscience, I don't know what else to tell you. Those came in tandem with each other. And the takeaway was, and this, it's so funny living this life where a juvenile 20-year-old me first touching these social medias was, if you sat my dad down, he would tell you, I was exclaiming to him that you are getting full I didn't know, man, they were working with the federal government in that regard.
I don't think you were the only one. I think majority of us didn't.
But nobody knew. But what I was exclaiming in college was you're watching social media companies bend the knee to the government. Anytime the government goes, we want this. Like, we don't want you doing this type of behavior, or we want safety protocols on this. They beckoned and moved immediately. And the reason being, there were no laws on the books. Like you were saying, these social media companies were the wild, wild west.
Oh, YouTube was ridiculous, man. You'd find the most wild stuff. That was like WorldStar ended up like kind of being its own thing, right? Too, but like YouTube was at one point like WorldStar.
Dude,
equivalent.
before they got bought by Google, YouTube was
Yes,
the
dude.
best.
Yeah, that was it. The turning
dude.
point was Google.
Dude, Filthy Frank videos from back in the day were so egregiously funny, but like you couldn't make those today, and that was a decade ago, if that.
Oh,
When we were what, like you said, 20 when you got on.
no, dude, YouTube, we had
Even before
14
then,
years old.
right.
You know, you were able to download a YouTube video just straight. You didn't have to go to some website and rip the link. You could literally just hit download, no watermark, and you've got like UFC highlights on your PSP.
Oh man, you do those MP3 converters and go to YouTube just to get them on your iPod free.
That was, again, the Wild Wild West. It was
For
worth
people out there, for the 16-year-olds in Australia, you have no idea what we're talking about. And you won't until you're 16.
And even then, if you try to do what we were doing, you will get arrested.
yeah, now they're cracking down.
But again, it was the Wild Wild West, and I was exclaiming from the beginning, you are going to get direct cooperation. And I just mean like a policy change.
Mm-hmm.
We want this included in your internal policy. These are private companies. They could easily say no. But every time in lockstep, they would comply. And the reason being, there were no laws. And if you are in this landscape running these companies,
yeah,
baby, that's just how you want it. That's exactly how you like it. And so if every time you want me to jump, I jump, then you will never feel compelled to go and write laws that dictate me or control me. And the reason they want that is maybe they're going to end up doing things sometimes they don't like, but at the same time, it is so much harder to fight a law once it's concrete.
Oh, yeah.
And so they'll do whatever they can to ensure we still keep it. Hey, it's a gentleman's agreement. You tell me to do things, I do them, and just as long as you don't go on that congressional floor and make rules that control me and I can't do anything about. Before we proceed down this road any further, I want to get the Pickle Gallery's thoughts. Ricky, Silent, what do you guys think of this? Silent, what are your thoughts?
It's really ridiculous that the government has to step in and control people's children instead of the parents doing the job of controlling the children and not making them use social media, as the way it should be. Because if you are a parent, in my opinion, you really should not be letting your kids use social media at all. And if you are letting them use social media, you better make sure that it's just to be social with the friends that they know through school or through after school activities or things like that. And that's it. Because it really is the wild, wild west. And I would argue it still is. Of course, compared to 10 years ago, it's way more strict and filtered and regulated. But there's still a lot of corners of social media that are not filtered or moderated. And you can see some crazy things. Facebook, on X, Twitter, on YouTube, you really can. And there's just not enough human moderation, enough of a force to clean it all up,
My only pushback on that is if my mom and dad knew what I could accomplish with a Wii in 2005, they would have broken their necks. But guess what? I was able to accomplish it, and it didn't wreck me. Why? Because I still had a strong household. So the PSP, was I able to flirt with some dark edges of the internet? Or, dude, when you finally are off the leash and you're in college and you're learning about the dark web and the scary side of the internet, the things I saw that did give a human PTSD. You're like, I didn't need to see that. Curiosity killed this cat. But at the same time, I'm still a functioning member of society. So even though it is, again, you could probably have a couple drinks of alcohol and it not kill you. But if you just made a habit of only drinking alcohol, that's a spiral. So it's kind of like a moderation thing too, is we can be exposed to these things. We're durable humans.
I just don't see what the goal of this law is. Like,
control. It's the first
no,
step
but
of
I,
control.
like, I get
Control,
that. I get
yeah.
that. It's like censorship. Again, give an inch, take a mile. But it's like, is that the only thing they're going for? Or is like someone actually like making a law like, well, maybe we could try and prevent like social media dependency by these young kids? I don't see that being the reason. I truly think it's power moving towards censorship. Look at Europe. Like they can't say
Yeah.
anything out of line on social media and they might get thrown in
They're
jail.
clearing the jails of like real assault criminals for people who say words.
Yeah. So it's I want to look at it with the double-edged sword and be like, maybe that's what they're going for. But at the same time, I'm going to be like, listen, I'm going to try to prevent my kids from getting on social media as long as I can. Like you said, by growing up in a decent household, I
Yep.
don't necessarily need a law to define that.
Right. Silent. Ricky, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
It really changed when people start coming up with all these ridiculous challenges and impressionable kids start doing all these stupid challenges. It started off with the ice bucket challenge. Harmless, cool, nice challenge, spread like a wildfire. Then one idiot was like,
Eat a
let's
Tide
do the
Pod.
cinnamon challenge and put it on the internet. And then the snowball just kept going down. But when that was happening, parents were like, yo, not everything you see on the internet, my dad, not everything you see on the internet you should be doing, or not everything you're doing should go on the internet because
True.
it's gonna last forever. And my dad was no rocket science. My dad drove a tow truck, no rocket science, just an average guy. And if he knew that and people didn't know that, like that's smarter than him or that's in different tax bracket, that's on them. Like their kids became the ass. But when influencers start having power, then that's when they start be like, okay, we can't give these people that's just out of nowhere, no background, no degree, nothing, just have all these powers on our kids. So I think maybe that's where it's coming from, like the challenges and the influencers, like and like kids want to be Kai Snap nowadays, so they're going, yeah.
Silent, before I take it any further, did you want to respond? We threw a lot at you after your first comment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, of course, the most important thing is to have a very strong household, and it is your job as a parent nowadays to educate yourself of how to use the internet properly. Which most of us millennials, will become those parents that will probably teach our kids how to use the internet and how to like go to certain websites and not certain websites and things like that. Because my dad didn't know any of this stuff either, just like your dad, right? Like my dad had no idea that any of this stuff was going on the internet. And if he knew, he probably would have taken my computer and never let me touch it ever again, But like you said, the difference is that I had enough common sense because my dad had instilled like that in me as a kid to not go to certain websites or not go to certain things. And my dad would always warn me, like, he would always tell me, like, if you end up on uncomfortable websites on the internet, just close it and walk away. And that's probably the best advice I can give people is if you are on the internet and you are upset and you are like angry and disturbed, just like take a breath, close it all and walk away.
No, I can appreciate that point. And one of the things that I want to just flirt with, Silent makes the point initially that, why is it the government's place to step in here and parent and not the parents' place, right? So here's kind of where the rubber meets the road. Let's say the parents are obviously, in most cases, approving and willing to allow their kids to indulge in this. And the state is either in disagreement, either like Silent had indicated, our parents kind of ignorant to the ramifications or the extent at which these technologies can access unfettered internet, and the ramifications of that. So let's say the government evaluates this and says the parents are ignorant, or the parents aren't ignorant, they're just misevaluating the extent at which this is dangerous or has an impact on society. Therefore, we have the justification to overstep the will of the parents, or where they don't have one, insert a will for the parents and control these children. So I think this perfectly parallels fast food, an ultra billion-dollar industry. And I'm forced to ask the question, do you, Mr. Prime Minister, who lies to everybody and pretends that you give a shit about anybody, do you have the intention of outlawing the Big Mac? That bitch is like crack.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I would eat them every day if I could. However, I'm still not good enough at it. I look the way I do. I could be better at it. And I still am not. I have this. This is how I look with willpower.
Yeah.
So why aren't you stepping in there? Is it because there's billions of dollars for you to benefit from, that it's so ingrained in our society that you're willing to look the other way? There is a clear hypocrisy here. And for me, it further emphasizes the point that we're all dancing around, that we don't want it to be the case, but the case is it's for control and not for your health or for your benefit. So consider this. While Silent was talking, I wanted to do a little background here. How obese are Australian children? According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, 26% of children and adolescents in Australia aged 2 to 17 are overweight or obese. I just take the same inquiry and throw it to on Americans. What is that number looking like from America? According to the CDC, 19.7% of children and adolescents in the United States are obese. So that being the case, bro, you're fatter than us and we are the global tub-tubs.
Yeah.
So why do you get to have a Big Mac, but I can't TikTok dance? Or, like Will really hammered home with the strong points, I can't have access to the more reliable avenues of information, just the sole monopolized avenue of information by Google, that being YouTube?
It just seems that the want for these government agencies to have control over social media is so in your face. And I'm sure they felt 16 was a reliable age, because it's like, I don't know what the legal driving age is in Australia, but like, for instance, say this was happening in America.
Right.
So the instant you get access to a motor vehicle, the ability to be able to transport anywhere at any given moment, you can now get back on social media. And it's like, okay, is that what we're now equating the two as? Like, they're both as important. And it's like, I don't see how just having a Facebook profile is the same as getting behind the wheel of a car, or let alone being able to buy an copious amount of fast food, which when you turn 16, you could get in a car and then go do that without your parents' permission.
Right, right.
So, Will, I love that you brought up like the age thing there. Like in America at 18, males have to sign up for the selective service. We could be drafted, but we can't drink alcohol. We can't rent a car. We can't like do all this stuff. We can't technically fly, I think, too, or like there's
No, you could
restrictions on
fly.
buying flight
No,
tickets
you could
too.
fly.
Still,
You can
Can you?
fly. Yeah.
but like there's all this stuff like you still can't do as a legal adult. But we'll send you out to die in a war for us. So it's like maybe 16 should just be the age we can vote then too.
Well, I love that point, but, you know, piggybacking off of what you really highlighted, Will, if the Labor Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is going to make the claim that there is a clear causal link between the rise of social media and the harm to mental health. So it's kind of like you're calling social media heroin, and it's just like, just don't do it until you're 16.
Right.
It's like if that is a real concern of yours and that is a true focus, heaven forbid we try to make it less heroin-like.
Yep.
And instead we just go, no, you can't have it.
And here's the thing too. It's like, what, you have to be 16, but like how, like maybe you read it and didn't hear it, but how do you prove that? Like, kids on the internet can get around anything.
Well,
Well,
they
yeah,
said they're
like
going to test like age verification stuff. But here's the thing, like how many times, like remember when we first made our Facebooks, you had to be a certain age. Like, you know, when we made our MySpaces and Facebooks, we were like 12, 13. That was too young technically for their policy. How many of us said we were like 2, 3 years older? We did our birthday, but just changed the year.
Dude, I'm 65 on Facebook. What are you talking about?
Well, so
Yeah.
well, even more so, back to the language of the bill. The bill is going to be putting it on social media companies to police this. That $50 million Australian money is a fine put on the company. So really, you're gonna have a bunch of like 14-year-olds running rampant,
Bankrupt these
TikToking.
companies. I love this law. Do it.
Do it, and then just throw them all on Facebook.
It's just like, what's to prevent a kid who's 14 using his brother's birthday?
That's
who's
what. Yeah,
22.
Yeah.
and then again,
Maybe he has 2 Twitters now. How would you know? Like how? Like
so again, you'll be able to mask a Twitter pretty easy, right? Throw on make an anonymous account a name. The
with an anime head.
yes, random avatar. That would be easy. You could create a TikTok, but you couldn't be a creator. You could only be a user, an audience member.
Okay.
And again, no harm, no foul. But the second you start giving away indications to where the company can police you, and I'm sure that, yes, at $50 million a pop, they're going to be invested in having workers that are like marshal, plane riders, like how like the marshals just pretend to be like a passenger on the plane, but they're really a cop. You're gonna have Facebook people pretending to be just casual young folks DMing and like chatting it up, hunting for like 13-year-olds on the platform that shouldn't be.
Like I said, man, it's just kids find ways to get around these laws, and it's like they're kids. They're not going to care if they're breaking it.
And again, they're kids. This isn't what's harming them. It's the society social medias are not harming them. It's the society we build around those social medias.
Social
that are
media
causing
is
the harm.
what, more harmful than a broken household? Is that what you're telling me? So we have to police that?
Oh, well.
But it comes back to even like going off of your point with like the fast food thing.
Bars.
It's like there's so many things, but I find it so odd that these foreign countries, like, because you don't see it in the United States, because like we completely push back against it, but they're policing social media, policing it to the degree of like, you could go to jail. These companies are going to get fined. Like what? So what? The kid's 14. He ends up on Twitter. He gets found out. He can't go to jail. He can go to juvenile. Sure. What are the parents' repercussions now? They have no idea.
And that's not
how much trouble are they
articulated
going to
yet.
get in? And it's not articulated. That's even the scariest part.
Right. So pass a bill and all the details that make or break the way you evaluate this, that'll come later.
Dude, imagine like an Australian Browns fan who's like 14 who just wants to tweet about the Browns, gets in a boatload of trouble. The parents all of a sudden are getting bangs at the door by the police being like, kid's going to the jail. He tweeted Jameis's 3rd interception. And they're like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
And it's again, it comes back to the old phrase, give an inch to take a mile. What's next? Like, what's the next step? This was their foot's in the door. Okay, well, I like the living room, but maybe we should change the decor a little bit. And all of a sudden, another law shows up in a year or two.
Yes.
It's like, and it's just over social media. And what? This country had to fight tooth and nail to get a healthier guy in there with RFK.
And still he's getting ridiculed.
Right. You know, the more we talk about this, and I didn't know much of this topic, of the 3 topics, the more we've gotten into this topic, the less I'm like, no, like, I cannot believe you're policing 16-year-olds on the internet.
Right. And again, 16. Like,
how many 10-year-olds are on the internet with like
that's what I was
profiles
just about
like
to say.
actively like
10-year-olds would be a problem. 10-year-olds haven't even gotten that far.
No.
Like,
and again, technology is different now. Like I didn't get my first cell phone until I was a freshman in high school, and then it wasn't a smartphone. I understand all these kids are probably getting smartphones now.
Yeah,
like,
but Will,
what,
the big thing back then was the phones had cameras. And remember, parents used to freak out, my kid has a camera, they're going to take bad pictures and send them around or blah, blah, blah. Like that used to be
And
the
they
big
did.
concern.
and they did.
kids gonna be kids. But it's one of those things. It's like, what harm is a child gonna do on the internet? Sure, they're gonna see harmful stuff, but at 16, let's not act like this is a full-grown
Well,
adult. They're
I-
gonna go on the internet and all of a sudden see all this stuff and be like, oh my God.
I love you making that point because it was triggering in my mind this weird dynamic where I'm too old and I love playing Fortnite, and I'm at Thanksgiving and my cousin's son is like 7 and he loves playing Fortnite. And what I'm incredibly impressed about for my cousin or by my cousin is Fortnite is made for kids. Like
Yeah.
they continue to evolve that platform, not only to appeal to kids, but to be a safe place. There are skins and Fortnite dances that I was buying in college that you literally cannot emote in like 60% of the game because they're in safety areas for kids. And so, one, here's the problem. My cousin doesn't know enough about Fortnite to really know where's the safe zones and where they're not. It's all just one big catch-all. So because of that, kudos to her. She'll just make it, you can only play when dad's sitting next to you and you don't have a headset. Now, if he's a good person, maybe Santa will bring it for him this Christmas. And this will be the first time that he could talk to folks. But dude, we grew up in the wild, wild west. And I was just talking to a friend about the Xbox, like Xbox One, Xbox Live with like 40-year-olds that were telling you to do things to your mother that you were just like, I don't even know what that means.
Dude, go on YouTube, man, because you still can in Australia and look up Modern Warfare 2 lobbies from back in the day. Man, I feel bad. These kids are going to miss that.
Dude, but so again, I look at my cousin and it's like,
that built character.
Yes.
That built character.
Built character. You learn how to live with it. It also kind of trained a muscle in you to where for the next however many decades of your life, you get to know how to traverse that platform, that kind of environment, that medium as an instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine just being thrown into it at 16 and you're being berated by...
Dude, when I'm 60 and Call of Duty 75 is out, I will know how to handle myself in those lobbies if you hand me the money.
And again, it's because
that muscle memory will kick in real quick.
Yeah, you've had a long road of training. But again, it's not real training. It's not like it's something you should, carve out as like education for your kid. But the truth is, we can't be sitting here and pretending it's poison. It's also not poison.
Dude, kids used to be looked at like, by kids, I mean myself. I was looked at as like a dork because I didn't have a MySpace. And you're going to look at all these kids, they're going to be in high school and all the 16-year-olds are going to have all these social media platforms in the same school as them, as if they're not going to grab
Wait,
the phone and be like,
all of Australia would be no 16. Oh, you're saying if they were 15.
I'm saying, yes. I'm saying like you're in the high school. So what? We were freshmen, 15.
14.
So 14, 15. Sophomores and up all have phones with access to these social medias, as if I wouldn't grab my phone and be like, look at this beheading and just show it in one of their faces.
And what's funny is they'd all be talking about us on the social media.
Yeah.
Us dumb freshmen.
What's Trump doing?
Yeah.
Scroll down. Beheading. Look at it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, this is how we're going to silence it. Like, you're going to be an environment. Kids are always environments around other kids, older, younger.
Why is it not the parent's responsibility to parent? That's
we got to get rid of that. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's 2024. Why be a parent when you just have the kid?
When you could throw an iPad in their face. So let's start wrapping this bad boy up. Bringing in Silent and Ricky. Silent, what are your rapping thoughts?
3 letters. VPN. These kids are smart enough. If this ban is enacted, they're literally just gonna turn on the VPN and they're gonna hop on social media. Very simply. Like, realistically, this ban is just a way for the government to control people and watch what they do and collect a boatload of data on people. It's like, oh, you're 18. Oh, you got to prove that to us. All right, come on, cough up that ID. And then they have all that information and they're probably going to take all that information.
Retina scan.
And they're going to sell it and they're going to make a lot of money off of it because that is the new oil. And yeah, like I said, all this is going to do is just inconvenient people. And at the end of the day, these kids are smart enough to turn on their VPNs and just pretend like they're in America or they're in New Zealand or something. And they'll literally will bypass whatever firewall or restriction or anything else that the government is going to implement. It's literally so simple to bypass.
No, you're so right. Doug, you were itching to jump in.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, if there's all these penalties for these social media companies and all this, like we're talking about, I feel like the VPNs are going to probably end up having to be held responsible too. Like they just might not, they might have to start age checking people who want to use a VPN in Australia then. If that's going to be the workaround.
He is right.
Maybe.
They would probably apply the same age restriction policies to
Maybe
not
yeah.
only the social medias, but the resources making it accessible to the kids. Ricky, what are your rapping thoughts on this whole ordeal?
But from a dad that get a family plan VPN, how they
Right.
gonna do it? Like,
Right. There's
come on
always
now.
ways. Yeah. There's always ways.
But
Exactly.
it starts from the home, man. It starts from the home. If you tell your kids, yo, this is what it is. I lived it. I see it. I don't want you to be the idiot on the internet, but you can enjoy it. Starts from the home. Have a talk. Trust them. And if they fuck up, BTA, belt your ass.
And like these kids, the instant they turn 16, they're going to become so social media addicted because they missed out on it for so long. Like if you're a 12-year-old and don't get to use it for 4 years, you're telling me like social media is already addictive as enough. And I have access to it whenever, and I've had access to it whenever. And you're going to give these kids 4 years off, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like, boom, here's crack.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I love that point. What's
same
up, man?
logic though, like that American, like European countries, their drinking ages are
alcohol.
younger.
Yep,
we
that was
can't drink
exactly-
till 21. We abuse it so much more than other countries because we didn't get to grow up with it. We didn't learn to like not abuse it, you know?
That was literally going to be my launching pad into my wrapping thought here, which is, again, we're looking at the social medias and not the society we're building around it. Ricky nailed it right off the crack of the bat, which is this is right off the crack. This is on the parents. The parents are, it starts and ends with the parents. And then that leads me right into Silent's first point, which is the real inquiry here. Why is this left to the government and not to the parents? And so let's say, one, the evaluation here is that there's too much of a populace struggling with the symptoms of social media. Then you need to step up and educate parents. You need to equip them with the resources and the knowledge to step in the place of being a parent and eliminate the symptoms that are, I guess, infecting society, the mental health issues that are arising. Or on the other side of this, it isn't really that the impact is so severe that danger is at large or that society at large is in danger. But even more so, the admission there is, yeah, we can see people get depressed, their feelings get hurt. But like Will pointed out at the beginning, there's all these other values that, if used properly, which again, maybe in percentages out of 100%, maybe only 20% of Americans or Australians, people within your society, 20% of them have been equipped with the knowledge and the wherewithal to traverse these social medias in a healthy manner. And so what you're going to do is have 80% of the people have depression, suicide, whatever the case may be. Why aren't we examining what's happening here? Is it a broken household, like you said? Like, why are we not focused on the fact that maybe they are mostly divorced families, or they didn't touch social media until they were 20 years old, so they didn't have juvenile light exposure to get exercised and used to this?
Mm-hmm.
I end my point with this. It is clear that this is a extent of control, and it is up to Australia. And listen, it ain't happening here, at least for a while. So for the sake of your society, it is up to you to stand up against this, and then also self-proclaim the responsibility on the parents. And so if there is any symptom of this that has a negative impact on society, to hold yourself accountable, so that way the government doesn't even have an argument to compel the need to step in. Rapid thought.
I just think social media is a tool, and like any tool, you could use it wisely or poorly. And a lot of times when you use a tool, it's trial and error. So for like these kids who use it like poorly as like a young kid, it's like, I didn't use social media wisely when I was a kid. I'm 30 years old now. I know I don't use it not effectively now, but it's like when I started back when I was 14, it was like, I was just make random posts. I have memories pop up all the time. I was like, ooh, cringe.
I love the memories though popping up. That's the part they'll like miss out on too is 10 years down the road they'll be able to see, hey, you posted this on Facebook 10 years ago, and it's kind of fun to get those back. Those memories.
I was thinking though, it's gonna be a shame when you have like your star Australian rugby players and they can't look back at their tweets from when they were kids and be like, wow, it was like Mitch Trubisky to this day. I love titties. One of his best tweets he ever made. Still this day, whenever he has a good game on, like, rarely, but when he has a good game, people post that tweet. It's so it's
How
so
old
great.
was he?
He was like 15. Like he was a child.
That's awesome.
Not allowed in Australia.
Yep.
No,
he's
he
in
couldn't do that.
jail.
I wouldn't
Jail
know 15.
Trubisky.
I wouldn't know 15-year-old Mitch Trubisky liked titties if he didn't have Twitter at 15.
The
And that's a
things we
shame.
would have been cheated.
I know.
Doug, wrapping thoughts.
I think it's pretty dumb, and it's really going to come down to how they end up finalizing all this stuff. Because right now it's just a law, but they have no enforcement, no actual plan for it yet. So when they come out with that, I think we might have to circle back to this topic a little bit.
I hope we don't need to circle back, but you know us. We
Personally,
love
I don't
rethinking.
think so. With Musk taking over Twitter, I don't see that happening in this country.
Well, dude, we're talking about a guy that'll beam the internet into your country if you try blocking it
Like, I'm just saying, like,
from space.
like people there really, really must have felt some certain way about this to get this pushed.
Yeah. Well, and again, to me, it's more of a reflection on Australia.
And like you said, once it's in law, it's so hard to get it out.
Right. But again, COVID showed me these folks, they're
not
willing
care.
to let anything happen to
Do
them.
not care. They had a
They-
shooting once 30 years ago, no guns. Now you can't have social media. Crazy.
Yeah, wild. Absolutely. All right. Coming into the next topic, probably the biggest topic of the night. He did it. He said he wasn't gonna, but Uncle Joe, he pardoned Hunter Biden, every American's favorite crackhead.
What conspiracy is this? I think that's extremely unlikely. I want to be clear. I am here for that. I am.
I just love it's extremely unlikely. Okay, let me be clear. I am here for that. I just love the progression. I love the gaslighting of this would never happen to, well, of course this would happen, but it's not his fault. He didn't mean ill will by it.
Second one, would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear and I said no.
Okay, let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Again, you've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentence for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a
It
no.
will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
And where did that lead to?
Wrestled with it. He thought about it, and he believed, and what he saw was that his son was singled out. He truly believed enough is enough. We have seen in the last 5 years or so, the president's political opponents say this. Not even, I mean, this is not the president saying it. They said it themselves. They were going after Hunter Biden. And so he made this decision.
Unbelievable. What are your thoughts?
This is a special occasion in this country.
Why
This
do you
is
say that?
this is something I feel like we all saw coming.
Come on, man.
Truthfully, I felt like I saw this coming. I heard the deflection. I heard the gaslighting by the most transparent administration in United States history. This, oh man, he had like 6 hours too before it like went into effect. I want to know what he was doing in that time. Personally, I think he was money laundering so much. So much. Not even doing drugs, just money.
My favorite comment is, my son never did anything. There was nothing to see here, no crimes, but if there were, it started around 2011. like it's not even like for his whole life. It's this exact date and on, and that's in tandem with a presidential impeachment court trial
Yep.
for a president who called another country and asked them about the quid pro quo that the last president did for his son.
Yep.
Hey, I just want to know, did Biden with Obama use American aid money, like $100 million or 50, some crazy astronomical number? We will withhold the money if that prosecutor who's prosecuting my son because he's a crooked crackhead, if you don't fire him in the hour, we will withhold like millions of dollars. Guess who? And Biden laughs about, guess who was fired within the hour?
That video is so wild to think like it is. He's so proudly up there. And I gotta be honest. Hey, kudos to you, man. The balls of a corrupt family to just do that. And then for the media to gaslight like it's not a big deal for years.
Right.
You know, like like I said, this is a special occasion because I'm thinking of history books like 50 years from now, if this will even be mentioned. You know what I mean?
Speaking of how history will reflect upon this, you know, CNN is taking a conscious effort to be a more moderate news source.
Oh, yeah.
It is funny.
Their tone is completely changed on
They
this,
have fired a lot of people. They're trying to recoup what they have totally tarnished and lost with the public. However, through this whole, like you said, this is a comedic charade. We get to sit back and chew our popcorn too.
Has he even pardoned another person? Or was
No,
the first person he pardoned
just
his
my
son?
because he watched me while I showered with my daughter. But let's of the comedic highlights that came from this event, this one I think is my favorite. This delightful outburst on CNN.
Biden is leaving office making the strongest possible case for Donald Trump that anybody could possibly make it, and that's that our government and our justice system is of, by, and for the elites and nobody else. He ran to banish Trumpism from our political system in this country, and he has left it politically and now institutionally the strongest possible political force in this country. It is a complete and utter failure by the head of the Democratic Party and the President of the United States. Never again do I want to hear, oh, Donald Trump's a liar. You can't believe anything he says. Donald Trump will abuse his power. Donald Trump will only use the system to benefit himself and his family and so on and so forth. Never again. I have one question for Karen, and that is, why did he need an 11-year blanket pardon going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president? We are sitting on the biggest cover-up of who knows what crimes, and Joe Biden amazingly knows exactly, roughly.
How do you laugh that off?
Easily.
Like what warped logic and rationale do you embody for you to not even have a curious investigator? Like, where's the inquiry into that? You just scoff at it.
Personally, it's so easy for them to laugh at, dude.
It is.
For them, we knew about this for 4 years.
And they're
And
still
then in the
laughing it
last
off.
hour, they're like, he's off the hook.
Yeah.
How would you not laugh? I'm laughing and I hate them. Like, even I think this is hysterical. Is no one else thinking this is as funny as I am? I think this is one of the funny. Like I said, I would love to be able to read my grandchild's history book and go to the year 2024 and see if this is even a blip in it. Like, truthfully, like, I will remember this forever.
Right.
Their administration, the Democratic Party, has had a rough 4 years. I think a lot of us can admit. I think especially the individuals on this show right now gleefully would admit. But the last 12 months have been so in your face to where at the end, sure.
But
laugh
see, this
about
is
it.
I don't like that point. I love the point that you make, but what I don't like about it is it's turning me into such a crass human because now
100%.
I live in a world where I can't help but look at the mindless dumbasses that still spoon feed and swallow this bullshit, and I can't help but look at you as lesser than. I do. I look at you and I go, how in 2020 that's when everybody's reality started to break. 22, 23. Okay, now There is no excuse. Like you just said, for 12 months, it was in your face. The fact that Bernie Sanders won the candidacy in the primary system, and they go, nope, no, you people spoke. We didn't like it. Nope, just no. And then we give you Hillary. The people didn't like it. They spoke up and spit back at it. So what did you do? You lied and stole the next election. Speak to the 50 million people that disappeared in across the last 5 election cycles, but that's neither here nor there. Then the next election comes about and you go, dead guy's fine, dead guy's fine, dead guy's fine. Then the dead guy speaks publicly and everybody's like, he's dead. The dead guy's dead.
And funny enough,
and then what do? They go, yeah, shit, you noticed? Well, here's the puppet, the idiot. And everybody was like, wait, what happened in the process? Oh, shoot. Did we let the clock run out so you could actually have a say in the democracy? Well, for the sake of saving democracy, we're going to have to tell you to fuck off because we are going to put the puppet in. And then the people finally saw it for what it was, an overwhelmingly spoken majority. I don't know how going now into December, you can still sit there as an ostrich with your head in the sand, and I'm not going to look at you like you're consciously choosing that life.
Well, it completely exemplifies the gaslighting the media has done, because I agree with all of your points, but it's like, how could they do it? And it's simple. Orange man bad. Have you not listened to the media for a decade now?
You're right.
But now it's starting to switch, because this might be the straw that broke the camel's back, because this is on another level of like the corruptness. Like, everyone knows what his son did. Everyone knows. It's a joking point. Yeah, people online going like, yeah, he did it, but probably fun to party with. You know, he's kind of turned to a joke that way, considering everything he's done and how screwed up it has made this political system that we are currently in, just for them to be like, nah, he's good.
Right.
And then I'm sure you have the video, but then like of his mom being like, oh, I'm so happy. It's all good. Like that. And as a parent, here's the thing. As a parent, I could totally understand you wanting to pardon your child.
But
wait, hold on.
lady.
This is the crux of the point. The crux of the point is nobody doesn't have a heart to the fact that you are a dad with unlimited power and you have the ability to save your kid. Why this is the rope and noose, why this is so damning to an entire political party is because you spent 8 months taking the moralistic high road, saying this other team spits in the face of the judicial system. They will use the judicial system to hunt their enemies, kind of like we're doing, and they circumvent the system entirely. Therefore, we are boldly championing the fact that we will not pardon Hunter simply as a moral virtue to show that we are better than the villains we point our finger at, for you then to immediately do exactly what you said you wouldn't do.
For months, they easily could have said, when they brought up like, hey, are you going to pardon Hunter? You could have easily been like, we haven't even really put much thought into that. We're trying to focus on the issues at hand in this country.
Right.
Could have said that the whole way through, but it was like a strict no, to where it turned into a no. Tired of answering that. You're rude for asking. No, come on. Why, really? Again? No. We did
it.
And it
looked
like
the other way.
Said, just for Karen to laugh, hysterical.
Oh, dude, hon. So I want to at least finish this clip, and then we're going to flip it to the pickle gallery. It only gets, this guy's on a roll.
When it started, he knows just about when it all started. He's leaving office in complete and total disgrace. He is a liar, and there is no other way to spin this today. This has nothing to do with Trump and everything to do with the character of Joe Biden. You guys can spend all day long trying to spin this, that this is Donald Trump's fault, that this is somehow caused by Donald Trump. Oh, he's appointing the wrong people. Oh, he did it. Oh, this is the worst possible thing a president could possibly do.
What's up?
I'm like looking at her face, and I admire that. I admire that woman. I admire that woman simply because one hot pink vest. She's like, I'm serving right now. just give the little smirk, like I see the hamster sprinting on the wheel in there to spin this so quick. I admire CNN people that do that still. Because still, like, again, like we all see the charade. It's completely like the candle's been lit and the whole thing went up and everyone's pointing and laughing and she's just like, you stupid bitch. I'm coming right back at you. I hope we get to hear what she says. I'm really looking forward to it.
The response is juicy.
To his party and to the country to sit for a year and say, I will not do this. I will not do this. The rule of law is sacred. We have to respect the justice system. Juries, we have to respect juries. We have to respect the guardrails and the norms of our democracy. These people are liars. Inflation is transitory. Afghanistan, it's a success. The border is secure. Robert Hur is a liar. The videos are cheap fakes. Biden has a cold. He'll never drop out. Oh, I'll never pardon Hunter. It's all a lie. It is all a grift. Every American, except the most partisan, brain-rotted people, are going to be outraged by this today. He is going to leave off. You think 38, 39% job approval is bad? Just you wait. Just you wait. He's disgraced today. Outrageous.
Here's your
Scott,
response,
you
Will.
don't need to hurl names and say people like me are brain-rotted. Come on, that's a little beyond the pale.
You just took it personally.
He just said people that adopt this form of logic, therefore, transitive property, brain rot.
Is it really that hard to just be accountable on that side and be like, yeah, we believed it?
Yes, it is that hard.
Like, he's not our knight in shining armor and his son's on coke. Oops. Like, it's all good. It's all good, guys.
Well, so again, she continues this strong tirade.
No, even for you, Scott.
Listen,
I disagree. We can
for yourself.
disagree.
You don't have to defend this. He's leaving office. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to die on this hill. You can say this is wrong because everybody knows that it is. It's wrong. Are you fine with the?
This is your opportunity to win back those that you lost. There are people that feel as though you look away from truth for the sake of propaganda. This is your chance to right the record, and it has no impact on the future of your party and your politics. This is behind you, and you could win back the moderates you lost. Instead, you're so convicted in your hubris that you just look down your nose. How dare you hurl? He hurled no attacks at you. He's attacking a form of logic, and instead of combating in the free marketplace of ideas to see if your idea could even come close to competing, you just play the emotional card, throw your hands up, cry, and leave.
It's a real simple answer. It's again, I'm not a parent, but I could understand and empathize with a parent having the power and the ability to do so to pardon your child. I can understand that. I could also be like, my son did mess up. There is an accountability that needs to be had here. We just need to move forward and try to right these wrongs. They're doing the opposite.
Total opposite.
Like complete opposite. I admire them.
Wait, real quick, because we do need to get to the pickle gallery, but I want I want Will's response. Speaking of just the audacity, talk about doubling down. Is there anyone better than, first let's share the tweet. We need a springboard. So is anybody familiar with the famous social media Democrat Gen Z shill Harry Sisson, where he said, "Riddle me this, MAGA. How has Biden weaponized the Justice Department if his own son is on trial and he's saying he will not pardon him if convicted? Your whole argument kind of crumbles, doesn't it? Embarrassing."
Look at the date of that tweet, June 6th.
Of this year.
It's not even just of this year. Just think of that. In 1944, kids his age were storming the beaches of Normandy, fighting for the freedom of this country. And this fucking twerp is coming after this justice system. Like, you really think so? God.
Oh, wait. So how does he, 6 months later, what's the content he's making?
Just get this straight. Republicans are upset that Joe Biden pardoned Hunter Biden, but they also voted for a convicted felon who pardoned his buddies while in office. Is that not just hypocritical? Got it.
All right. I wanted to address one thing. Of the people that he pardoned, Trump, It is kind of weird. While former President Bill Clinton pardoned his half-brother, Roger Clinton Jr., of a drug conviction on his last day of office in 2001, President-elect Donald Trump also did the same for his daughter Ivanka's father-in-law, Charles Kushner.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that.
No.
Kushners are dangerous folks. And we got to remind ourselves that the Trumps are intimately intertwined with some dangerous Israeli folks. So it is like, all right, what would you rather have? Dad's crackhead or, a world power that could also be dangerous. However, we need to be reminded, and that's what I wanted to really address. I'm so sick and tired of hearing we voted for a convicted felon.
Oh, yes.
That is total willful ignorance. You are choosing to ignore the understanding of the law. That was not a felon. That wasn't a felony. It was twisting the reading of the law. And then even beyond anything else, the misdemeanor that was turned into a felony for the sake of a public charade, it also elapsed in the statute of limitations. So you totally hijacked the system just so you could call him a felon, and understand that had no weight to the point where everybody still voted for him. He will end up pardoning himself if the system doesn't sort itself out. But apparently during sentencing, this is all going to go away. But the bigger point here is I love this position of hubris of we went from one position to the other. Now, he's making fun of a conservative social media content creator who eats food while he makes snarky comments, one-liners.
Oh, I've seen that guy.
And so he's trying to throw it back by eating his pie. But I want to really dissect his points, his actual the mental gymnastics he does. That's where I think the meat of this is.
I fully agree with this decision. Donald Trump has said that he wants revenge, that he wants to target his political opponents, and this move at least protects Hunter from that, which I think is good. And look, the Republicans have been targeting Biden and his family for his entire presidency. And I'm not talking about the legal cases against Hunter. Those were proper. They went through due process. A jury found him guilty or he pled guilty. But I'm just talking about the conspiracy theories, the lies, the nonsense. This at least gives...
what? He said nothing there. Conspiracy theories, the lie. What? He couldn't point to one thing that is an actual lie. If I were to talk about lies that Democrats perpetrate, I have a list of them. I'd point to one of them and address it, not just go the laundry list of conspiracy. That way, you don't have to think about it. As long as it comes from a conservative, just write it off, because of course it has to be a conspiracy.
I've changed my mind. I agree with Australia. We should change the age to 20. We should just
really, it should be shills. If you're getting paid by the government, you shouldn't be allowed to make content that makes you feel like an independent.
It's just complete willful ignorance. And I mean, hey, secure the bag, Harry, or whatever your name is. Who am I to hate? But to completely go and be I completely agree with this because of the conspiracy theory. There's only one reason you should agree with it is as a father, I can understand you wanting to help out your child. That's it.
But the fact that you can admittedly go, yeah, there were legal shenanigans because they're targeting the Bidens, and Trump said that he was going to use the legal system for revenge. But I also, on the other side of my tongue, am going to admit that the trial against all the hearings against Hunter were legitimate and fair with a jury of his peers. But it's just a dad doing what a dad does, right?
I'm telling you, man, I'm warming up to Hunter the more and more I hear about him. That sounds like a wild dude. The life that guy must have lived, the fact that he's made it this long, unreal.
I like to do crack, paint paintings, $50 million from a Saudi prince gets you in the room with the big guy.
Dude,
that's what he said. Those are his words.
I'm telling you, the life that man has lived. He needs to make a memoir. His book tour is going to be so cracked out.
What are we talking about? We're talking about a guy. It would be cracked out. He is sleeping with his brother's wife, his widow.
Yeah,
his brother's widow.
That doesn't get brought up enough.
And not enough, especially from a family where the dad showers with the daughter and the daughter feels exploited. But that's neither here nor there.
That's up there with Caitlyn Jenner running over that guy and killing him. That doesn't get brought up enough. That just gets really pushed under the rug. Hunter sleeping with his dead brother's wife. That just doesn't get brought up enough.
It really doesn't.
I mean, of course, there are other things that overshadow it, but you would think it'd get mentioned. Like, hey, man, remember he did that too? Nah.
We've had him hanging on the wing for a while. First, Ricky, what are your thoughts? And the whole, this is crazy.
Ricky, just like you, Hunter is definitely outside.
Yeah, that's facts. That's right. I've never seen him, but different brackets, different tax brackets, you know. But
he's in Nantucket, buddy. Just like you.
Well,
Actually, no, I heard he fled to Africa.
I've seen it. I just seen him last week. They left Saturday night at 7. But after church, I went in the alley to smoke, and the Secret Service came out like, Secret Service, you have to keep back here clear.
Dude, your life is crazy. I'll get a video from Ricky, and it's just the Secret Service walking down the sidewalk in front of his house. He's like, they're here.
I sent you
Stay
videos
outside.
just for this episode because I have a couple clips.
Stay outside.
But, yo, what do you expect the dad to do? But
right,
I ain't gonna focus on that part. Anybody that listens to people, the Henry Harry guy, and take them serious, you can't trust them. That's like someone that don't drink water. Can't trust them. You know what I mean? Like that person believe in 74 sexes or genders, whatever they want to say. You can't listen to people like this. One day, whoever's filling their pockets today, that's the way they're gonna go. And tomorrow is gonna be the other side of the pillow. You can't take those people serious. If you do, we can't have a serious conversation.
I can appreciate that point. Silent, what are your thoughts?
Laws for thee and not for me. Simple as. This is literally a straight case of corruption. Of course, it's a dad looking after his son, right? Like at the end of the day, that's exactly what it boils down to, right? And at the same time, as Will pointed out earlier, like, why not just not talk about it? Why always say no, and then right before you end your presidency, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna pardon my son. Like that's just like scummy and weird, and like you could have handled that so much more professionally and so much better, you know, instead
it shows
of like
disrespect for the people,
right? And disrespect for the courts, right? And like the law and order of the country, right? Obviously, this is sending like a yeah, fuck you guys. The laws don't apply to me or my son, so suck it. You know, that's literally all that it is. Like, it's sending a very strong message, really. It's like, yeah, my son does shady stuff and illegal drugs and extorts people and buys hookers
traffics
and
people
traffics people and does drugs and makes shady deals and launders money after he makes those shady deals. But that's fine. I'll pardon him anyways in the end. After I've said I won't. It's like, what kind of message are we sending? It's like, does this then open the floodgates? People be like, maybe if I'm cool with Joe Biden, I can also do the same thing. And maybe he can pardon me as well, you know?
Well,
Like-
and I like that point because it really makes me wonder what's coming up next. Like, this isn't the end of his pardons.
Dude, the funniest thing now would be if he was like, I'm pardoning Snowden. That would be so funny. The media wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know what to do. They'd be like, what? That'd be a historic run. That's like the Bulls in the 90s.
I think where his mental capacity's at, he is going to pardon Danny Dufresne. That guy was never guilty to begin with. He should have been let free. He's hiding in Mexico. He had a call. Crawling through a tunnel of shit was enough. Let him go. Let him go. He just pardoned a fictional character.
I'm telling you, he should.
I would.
Like, funny enough, like, all he did was pardon his son, and then Darth Vader, and Andy Dufresne, you know, the villain from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Roger Rabbit himself. Like, that would be hysterical just to watch Karen with the pink vest go like, I don't see any problem with it. I don't know why you're coming at us for this. Hysterical, dude.
I love you.
This is the best timeline. I don't know why nobody is going like, this is amazing. I think that instant I saw Joe Biden pardons his son Hunter, I was like, we're so back, baby. We're so back. We had a slow week. We had a slow week, but boy, is he back, man.
Well, I like you bringing it back to Pink Vest Lady because we have to ignore the fact that we lived through all of the bold-faced lies directly to our face. It's transitive inflation, as if, it's not the economy suffering. Afghanistan was a total success. The border is secure. Robert Hur lied. Biden is fine. Those videos are just cheap deep fakes. Biden had jet lag. Biden had a cold.
No, it was COVID, actually.
Biden isn't going to be replaced. And then it finally ended with Biden isn't going to pardon Hunter.
I still think it's crazy that they replaced him literally a week after, literally like 7 days after Trump's assassination attempt.
And like first it was piling because of the debate.
Oh, yes.
And then
yeah.
it wasn't just days later that the assassination attempt happened. And again, like we all talked about Reagan, that's what wins an election for someone. So they needed to change up the deck quick to even just stand a chance.
Truthfully, you want to know what Kamala Harris's biggest issue was? She wasn't elite enough. There are plenty of other
win people.
I agree, but I think if she was elite enough, they would have found a way to make it work. I think they
tried. I think
they tried, but I think it's like when that internal polling finally came out after the election, they were like, none of their pollsters inside the Democratic Party ever had her ahead, but they again gaslit the people thinking like, oh, it's neck and neck. I bet you they thought they were going to hit around mid-October and they'd be like, no, it seriously is neck and neck. She still might be able to do this.
You're right.
Like, it's obviously a bold-faced lie, but.
So talking about how the media goes through 4 years of a laundry list of lies they boldly exclaim to your face. And then piggybacking off of that, you brought up Karen in the pink vest again.
Oh, yeah.
And
she's my new favorite.
Doug, when Jon Stewart came back, was, exclaiming his excitement and was a fan of it. And at that time, there was still hope for the election, and he was still pushing for one agenda, and it definitely leaned more Democrat, his commentary, and I really wasn't enjoying it. Well, you could tell now that the will of the people has spoken. That's right. He's a little bit more open with his criticism. And speaking of the media's play in this, and really the Democrats' agenda, how they kind of defeated themselves. Oddly enough, I'm excited and surprised to say Jon Stewart was one of the best articulations or evaluations of this Hunter Biden dilemma.
Democrats keep getting caught creating a purity test for a system that they can't seem to pass themselves.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself?
How that could possibly happen. How anyone could be that irresponsible.
Irresponsible. The careful stewardship of our nation's most classified documents is foundational to the institutions. It's why we are... What's that? Oh, really? In his garage. Next to his car. Parse away.
By the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
It's totally different. Enemies of our nation would have to get on their tippy toes to peer into the garage to see those documents using some sort of image capture technology, which I'm sure doesn't exist. Spies would also be distracted by my sickest Corvette. And let's not forget, in contrast to Donald Trump, the moral stand Biden took on Saudi Arabia after they murdered one of our journalists.
We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
Oh, pariah.
Yeah, boom. Khashoggi will not be forgotten. Candidate Biden says this moral line must be drawn. And President Biden?
Tonight, with one fist bump, a pariah no more.
It's just a fist bump. It's just a fist bump. Come on, don't. No, Trump would have probably done the whole, like, boom. That is a moral line I won't cross. I'll just but he would have done the whole boom. Whee! And of course, there's the border.
We're going to restore our moral standing in the world and our historic role as a safe haven for refugees and asylum seekers. My Lord, we've never made asylum seekers seek asylum outside the United States of America.
We've never done it. Tomorrow. what Trump is doing until, of course, my poll numbers start to go down.
Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum.
Rules, loopholes, and norms. The distance between the systems Democrats say they are revering and the one that they're using when they need to is why people think it's rigged. Use the rules, use the loopholes, the norms, but also use it to help the people, not just those people related to you.
Funny enough, that actually reminds me of Trump a decade ago now when he was doing his debates with Hillary, and Dave Chappelle has a bit when he's like, this is the day he became a superstar amongst like individuals, wasn't when they brought up the tax code, and he was like, I use it because I'm good at it and because you people passed it and you do the same thing.
Bingo.
That completely like highlighted right there.
Right, right. And so again, as Jon Stewart says, I'm not trying to damn you for using the system, but don't just use the system against the people for your own intimate agenda and personal, success. Let's get to our wrapping thoughts. Bringing back Silent and Ricky. Ricky, what are your wrapping thoughts on the whole thing?
As a father, I get it. If I had the power to help my kid out, hey, if I had the power to get my kid to the NBA, I would. So I get it. But when you're the leader of the free world, there's certain lines you shouldn't cross. But there hasn't been a good moral stance for you. You haven't made a good stance ever. Like everything he said has been contradictory. So, like, what do we expect, bro? We should have been on the last day.
Yeah, truthfully.
It's the problem is it's just been so in our face.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you bring that up because one point that we haven't touched upon yet that will kind of help us land this plane. We are forced to ask ourselves, why now? And Jon Stewart in his bit has like a really funny bit that he acts out where it's the Biden family Thanksgiving. And it's just Hunter like eating like, yeah, Dad, sounds like this is gonna be my last Thanksgiving with the family. I really wish someone could do something about it. It's like no one in the world can, but you, Dad. And it's just like, okay, it all happened at Thanksgiving. I'm sure they were all together and some conversations were had. But one of the conspiracy theories that runs parallel to this is the sense of urgency, like Ricky said. Why now? Like he isn't getting sentenced quite yet. You could have probably made it at least a few more weeks, if not until January 20th or whatever, when you finally leave the office. So why now? And some of the murmurs is that his health is getting so severe now that there's a concern that he may not that he'll pass, but cognitively, he may not make it to the end of his term. And so it's one of those housekeepings, get it all done while you still can before you get removed and it's too late. Silent, what are your wrapping thoughts on this whole thing?
Yeah, it's like I said, I think this is not the only pardon we're going to see, in my opinion, or it might be, who knows? I guess only time will tell. And if as you're saying, his health is not looking good and he's not looking in tip-top shape to do anything else until January, I wonder who else he's gonna pardon now. Because like I said, like this just sends a signal that like, hey guys, like if you are cool with me, then you can go wild and do whatever the hell you want. And right before January hits, I'm gonna pardon you. Because that's the message it's really sending. Is that if you're elite, if you're rich, if you're part of Biden's circle, you're untouchable and the law doesn't apply to you. And it's very unfortunate because as we discussed thoroughly before, like the fact that they kept sending the signal that, we will not use the justice system to weaponize it for our benefit. We won't use our powers. We won't use our powers. No. And it's like, oh yeah, no, hold on. Wait a minute. Let me just pardon my son real quick before I leave. It's like, there's really no stronger message you are sending to the American people and to the people of the world, really, than, yeah, guys, our laws are ironclad and solid, and our justice system is great, but it doesn't apply to us, rich people, and the people that are in power.
Right? No, so again, wrapping this bad boy up, looking at Article 2, Section 2. This is where we get the commander-in-chief clause, and that's what brings about the pardon powers. And it gives the commander-in-chief the ability to pardon anybody within the country. The idea is that it's a check on decisions of the federal judiciary, and the president is entrusted with this responsibility. And the reason the president has the responsibility is because the framers of the Constitution decided that the president should have the ability. It should be virtually unchecked, and it should be part of the system and part of this separated powers and checks and balances, and that the president should be able to unilaterally decide whether to shorten someone's punishment or to offer them a full pardon or some variation of these options that are available. Now, it is interesting that gives the president kind of that king-like power we were trying to avoid, but it's a well-calculated balance to the system we have now. And I think Ricky, simply put, with all of this extensive dialogue we've had, it really does boil down to this isn't Donald Trump helping his daughter's father-in-law, who's also a political beneficiary. This is a dad and his son. And the truth is, this is a failure of a father, because he put his career and billions of dollars and a private island outside of China before raising his kid. He put smelling children, even his own daughter, in the shower before any parental standard or pride that he could have. And this is what we're left with. We're left with the classic archetype where the rich daddy neglect the family and the family's in disarray and they're all in shambles. I mean, one of the sons is dead because your family was in shambles and your crackhead son swooped on his wife. The whole dynamic is just so bananas. And yet, like Ricky said, it will always come down to, I may not be able to do much. I may have failed here, there, and the other where, but I'm your father, and this is something I can do. The thing that changes this whole lens, though, is for him and his representatives to, like Will said, gaslight and just speak down at us. This would never happen because I'm better than you. And then you go back on that and flip to a totally different position, which, again, is the very human position. But are we going to also, I mean, here's the truth. How many people listening to this or involving themselves in this conversation have not seen any of the videos, pictures, or clips? If you've seen any bit of that dude's laptop and the things, the video and picture evidence floating around, not just Twitter, it's all over the internet. You just got to look for it. And it's so crazy, from human trafficking to piles of crack, hookers. I mean, the quid pro quo, manipulating your political relationships with political leaders. This goes beyond just Bill Clinton pardoning his half-brother, Roger Clinton Jr., for a drug conviction. This ain't just a drug conviction. The pile of crack was just a stepping stone to the litany of crazy things surrounding this guy and his family. So my heart breaks that, this guy is so compromised and being manipulated by the people around him. And you could just tell he's a guy dealing with dementia that's just lost in the abyss. However, it's like, Darth Vader, if you let him live long enough, probably would get dementia and die of old age. Doesn't change the fact that he is Space Hitler.
He would get pardoned, though.
Yeah, that's true. I guess what I'm getting at is, it doesn't matter the state he ends his life in. We need to really look at the track record of both of these people. And I mean, not just Joe, or not just Hunter, but Joe as well. And really, Hunter is just an ancillary. They can get him. If they could get Joe, they'd go after him. He's the top of the pyramid, but this is just low-hanging fruit that we can get because his dumbass turned in a computer to get fixed with all of the evidence on it. So that's my point. Will, what are your wrapping thoughts?
I think of the families in this country that have had essentially considered royalty in the last 50, 60 years. The Kennedys, the Bushes, the Clintons, potentially the Obamas depending on where that goes. And it all ends with Biden. And knowing that this is the legacy that you've ended with. 12 years ago, you were funny Uncle Joe. And now it's like you are the pinnacle definition of the corrupt politician that this country has been thriving off of the last 15 to 20 years. Probably even longer. But at least now in today's current media, and especially social media, you could see it right in your face.
Yes.
You know, and I have no sympathy. I have no empathy for them. I can understand it, father doing that for his son. But it's like your son is a cautionary tale of what happens when you choose the political role. Like, does Nancy Pelosi have any kids? I'm sure they're screwed up.
Oh yeah, they're messed up.
You know what I mean?
Look at her relationship with her husband. Like, even notice how quick the situation with the intruder in the Pelosi house, how quick that got swept under the rug, because it was definitely a sexual partner that was like in his house and something went awry. And that's why we're not going to get all the details about it. It's like, that's the lives the people live.
Well, it's like you mentioned, you know, the Hunter Biden laptop. You go out there, you can find them. Sure, all of us here have seen stuff on the laptop 4 years ago. That's not even a real thing. This didn't happen. 4 years later, pardon for that. Not even just that. A litany of other things.
Anything that could have happened in this period, which has never happened before.
No. So I'm very glad, and I hope this chapter of America ends with this and it starts moving forward in a different direction. I'm optimistic, but I'm so glad I got to see this. Because again, like I said, instant I saw this, I was like, I want to look at my grandkids' history book.
Yeah.
Just to take a peek at the end of 2024.
Well, history is told by the victors. So hopefully we're in a position where the righteous and logical are telling the story.
You know, and it's like, for Joe, just disappear.
Yeah.
You don't got much
Do what
longer
George
anyways.
Bush did. He killed a lot of our sons too. Find a ranch and retire away from the public eye.
Just watch this drive every day of your life for the rest of your life. He can't do that, but like, just go away.
Trump made that clear. He would beat him
Just
with like
go
a
away.
5 hole.
What a timeline.
Right.
I'm telling you, the last 12 months of the Democratic Party, what a ride.
And
What a ride.
It's still going
dude.
downhill.
Like, it's just everything, like one after another after the other. And we all knew this was coming, but I didn't, like Silent said, I thought it'd been like January 19th. Nah, it's good. No, dude, he's going to have the best New Year's. Hunter Biden's New Year's is going to be the best New Year's. Everyone, that's a Diddy party in the making right there, man. That is going to be crazy. I hope he IG lives it.
Yeah.
I hope he IG lives it. Like, not guilty.
Douglas, rapid thoughts.
I like Will's point that like just like 8 years ago or whatever, 12 years ago, he had all those memes of him being like the cool vice president, and now we're
Eating
here.
ice cream.
Yeah, now we're here, and he has once again tarnished the Democratic Party, like another tarnish and a long line of tarnishes that party has, and it just doesn't look good that he pardoned his own son after trying to go so hard on Trump and Republicans for other stuff. It's an interesting time, like Will said, and I would love to see a history book that a middle schooler has in like 20 years. That's going to be interesting.
I'm just saying that, like, genuinely, like, is this going to get mentioned?
Hell no.
You know?
Hell.
And it's like, I will never forget this. I will never forget this. This is historic, dude.
Dude, I remember finishing recording like a third-party podcast for someone else, turning it off, seeing missed calls from my uncle. Did you just see the president got shot? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that was not long ago. That's how much just keeps unraveling. The winds just haven't stopped since
Dude,
that
these
day.
parties have had the most opposite of years, man. And like, I'm just so glad I got to witness all of this. Because for 4 years, you've all been like, come on.
Well, especially because, like you said, for 4 years, for 8 years, what I did witness was like being lied to. And you're like, is no one else seeing this?
And now CNN of all networks is like, come on, have some accountability here, guys. Just for them to be like, no. Going off what Silent said, you didn't need to say no for 5 months. We're in America. Plead the fifth. They didn't think of that one.
They didn't think of
That's how little they think of the judicial system. We don't have to say that. We'll just say no, and then he's good.
Well, it's just how much of an instinct lying has become. We don't ever have to even consider the truth because lying has become our reality.
I haven't heard the phrase plead the fifth from that administration in 4 years, and they should have been saying it a lot, and I would have been like, kudos.
You know what's funny is I think it's what goes around comes around. The karma of lies will catch up to you. It's just these lies were so big and so well crafted that it took longer than they could ever have expected. So for go back 10 years ago, they did it for a year and they're like, oh, okay, all right, let's keep going. And it took 10 years for it to just come around and backhand them. And now they're like, I didn't see that coming.
Dude, I'm telling you, Hunter's been on a bender since the pardon happened. The pardon happened.
No, and I am going to read a View community note here because the Rethink Tank chooses integrity. I do want it to be known that the claim by the crackhead family is that the crackhead himself, Hunter Biden, has been clean apparently for 2 years.
And that ended like 3 days ago when they were like, you're all good,
today,
dude.
When it was announced yesterday, we have been on a bender ever since.
They were just like, oh, I'm good. I'm so good.
Wait, you're telling me I got a month to commit crimes?
Dude, he probably looked at his dad, be like, Dad, get in here, man. Get in here. Close the door.
Close the door on the security bunker in the White House. Dad, it was me. It was me.
Come on.
All right, come on, man.
Come on.
Let's party. Wake this old man up.
Best timeline, dude. Best timeline, man.
All right, let's bring it to our wrapping topic here because the global politics just doesn't stop getting intense. So the Mexican president crafted a letter to Donald Trump, and it's pretty extensive, so we're not going to read through the whole thing. But the noteworthy part is it being kind of like a puffing of the chest, calling out of the Trump administration before it even hits the office, going, we don't play those games. We understand your rhetoric, and it isn't that we are selling heroin and guns at an immense rate into your country. The real problem is that you've got a market buying the drugs and guns off of our country. Okay. Let it be known that this president had conveniently 12 other candidates she was running against murdered. They didn't just die of syphilis. They were murdered throughout the presidential election. And that's what got her the seat. I also want it to be known that she is one of 8 prominent world figure presidents that are Jewish, that are Israeli oriented. Just convenient, maybe just a coincidence. We all have our own religion, so that just could be a thing. But it also comes in lockstep with 12 of the other competitors being murdered. So this lady is out here calling out Trump, and he had a great response. He's looking to cooperate, but also let's make it very clear, America's done being taken advantage of. So I appreciate the hard stance he's taken, and it isn't just this letter that I think is noteworthy in this conversation. A couple other things that arose with Trump, I got 2 others, was Justin Trudeau had a back and forth with Trump, and he didn't want to meet with Trump on Trump's terms. And Trump made it real clear, you're going to come meet with me here in America. I'm not going to you. And you're going to come down here, you're going to kiss the ring. And one of the interesting comments he had for him, President-elect Trump suggested to the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau last week that if a tariff for failing to address the trade and immigration issues would kill the neighbor to the North's economy, well, then maybe it should become the 51st state and just it'll all be taken care of by daddy. Oof. That's our guy. And then the second one that comes in line with that is Trump promises there is hell to pay in the Middle East if hostages are not released before he takes office.
Dude, look at that dap up between him and Netanyahu.
Here, I'll share it for the rest of the folks so they can see.
That is like, oh man, that's like gangster. Dude, he's just holding him tight, like, yeah.
Yeah, he really, it's just like he shakes hands, pulling it in tight. Like,
it's an alpha move. He's like, yeah, you're coming to me. You're coming right here. Who the hell is that guy?
That's the author. That's the author of this. But the statement by the NSC spokesperson, the hostage video released today of the American-Israeli citizen Eden Alexander is a cruel reminder of Hamas's terror against citizens of multiple countries, including our own. We have been in touch with Eden's family. And what does Trump say? You better release him before I get in there, or there's hell to pay.
It's the one thing I have always liked about Trump is his ability to bluff well. He's a man who understands leverage very well.
The art of the negotiation.
Exactly.
Art of the deal.
And that's like Trudeau immediately coming down to kiss the ring. It's just like Biden's not in charge anymore. Like, I will make you come here.
While the cat's away, the mice play. For 4 years, the mice have been trampling it all over. Well, guess what? The cat is home.
Yeah, he's not even in office yet, and you're already seeing such a change in like mentality around the world.
Right,
these foreign leaders, like it really is, and especially the one in the South. And I'll be honest, hot take, like I had with the Karen on CNN, Hillary Clinton personally called that woman and said, "How'd you do it? How did you make it work?" Started writing in her own playbook. Because that's one thing Hillary was like, maybe I should have gone that route.
Which route?
Get rid of him. Now it's just me in charge.
Yeah. She really wishes she just poisoned her competition. Kind of like she did with the other Kennedy Jr. Oop. Oh, no, it was just a mistake in a helicopter. I forgot. Let me bring in the pickle gallery. Silent, what are your thoughts? Justin Trudeau's coming down here. He's shaking in his boots.
Silent, welcome to the club, man.
As I was telling you guys off stream, 65% of our trade is done with the U.S., so we have no choice but to come and kiss the ring. You know, it's like we really don't have much of a choice as a country.
Hey, you know what? I don't want to get it twisted, Silent. There's no hate here.
Oh no,
we would love to call you a brother. I think you should get rid of your corrupt government and let our mildly lesser corrupt government adopt you, and you could become one of us. You'd be a brother.
Right. 51st state.
That's right. You could be like the 54th. We could really
chop
Canada up.
Dude, give them a football team. Give them a football team.
A real American football team.
That'd be awesome. No dome. No dome either.
In the middle of Quebec.
Think of how
Montreal
nice it would be
Monsters
to travel the entire North American continent with no passport, like how it was pre you know, I'm not gonna say the name of the event. You know what event I'm talking about. I don't want us to get flagged. And yeah, it's that would be nice. That would be nice. I will say that would be nice.
Ricky, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
If Canada became a state, it'd be like 54 states now, right? They're breaking down.
Yeah.
Dude, we could probably chop you up into like 12. What do you want? We'll make you as many states as you want to be.
We have 10 provinces and 3 territories, so that's technically 13 extra states. Technically,
Imagine that.
Now
driving up to Alaska and driving back down. You know, no real border checks. Fill up a highway to.
Like I'm saying, it would be nice. The freedom of movement in North America would be amazing. It really would be.
I mean, listen,
we're already your border to Mexico.
Exactly. I can't say nothing about my boy Drake because Drake is American. You know what I'm saying? We be not like us.
I'm willing to take it and extend further. You know, extra hot take. This is really going to be inflammatory for the Israelite running Mexico, but I've always said, at least for the last 8 to 10 years, this whole border crisis goes away the second we go take over Mexico. I have no disdain for Mexicans. I have disdain for humans that benefit from our social contract but don't pay into it. So as long as you're paying the same taxes I am, you should get all the same welfare programs I have. That's how it works. And honestly, I will concede the strongest point liberals love throwing around. They are harder working. They are a better. So you know what? I would, if Red Rover, let Mexico over, take Minnesota and New Jersey, and we would have, like, I will totally barter with you, and we would happily take Mexico. So I think really it should just be the United States of North America. Oh, I went there.
I mean,
that's
and who's going to
where
stop us?
The global
I say we look at
world
Russia and
order
go,
starts.
you get all of the mines in Ukraine.
But
I'm
bro,
taking
that's
the
where the
pants and I'm taking the hat of North America. We're getting bigger.
That's the new world order right there, Alex. Then we're just gonna keep going down south and south and south. We're gonna
Listen,
get Costa
now
Rica,
it's
Panama.
now it's a bit too much, Ricky. All right, know your borders,
The
Ricky. Know your
EU,
borders.
the EU
That's
zone
what
is
stop.
going to have its competition. If North America unites, the EU zone will have its competition for sure.
Dude, it's like college football. It's going to just be the Big Ten and the SEC. It's just
It's
going to be
gonna
us and them.
And the truth is, you don't want that either.
No, you
So I make fun and light of it, but it would solve a lot of our problems, and it probably wouldn't be bad.
Well,
but it
it's-
really isn't the answer.
It's funny that the king of the North, Trudeau, comes down and kisses the ring, and then the queen of the South, Cersei Lannister, is just like corruptly like, no, man, we're going to make it hard on you. We're going to really come after you. And it's like, you're run by what? The cartel, BlackRock, all the corruptness down there. That's what's in charge. And you think Trump's going to blink?
And they're like, yeah. We do have all of that, but it's your fault for buying it.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, we exploit your desperate poor people's addictions, but man, you shouldn't have those addictions.
And what's with this like passive aggressiveness coming from these
Yeah,
other foreign
talking
leaders?
big, learn quick.
But like, why? Why can't it just be like, all right, let's come to the table. Let's talk
kind of
about
like
this.
he did with North Korea.
I just don't get it. Like, I really still to this day do not understand it. It's like,
Well, it's rattling the cage. The truth is kind of like the Putin situation. Like, you guys are the ones that have pushed him to a point where he has to act. It isn't like he was just sitting in his gold chair. I have a chair. What should I do next? I want Ukraine. It was, we had a deal. We had a deal for 60 years and you broke it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, like, Trump's like, hey, I'm just here. I want to make deals. Let's get on the phone and try to cooperate. Otherwise, we move on. And they're sitting here going, that's not enough. And they're just poking the bear like, hey, don't you mess with me. Don't you mess with me. And then he finally acts upon it. Oh, wow.
no, I don't get this constant rattling in the cage. And he's still not even in office.
Right.
Like, he literally is not even able to do anything at this point. You're rattling the cage for what reason? To what end?
Right.
To antagonize? Like, you really think this is going to work in your favor? Has before? Oh, what? Now because you're in charge? Are you going to cross the border now marching at us? I don't think so. We know what the deal is going to be down there. We know what the deal is going to be down there.
Yeah.
Don't need to talk tough. You can just answer the phone and be like, hey, it's going to be nice doing business with you. Let's try to. What about the kids that go missing? Why don't you call them up and be like, hey, let's try to bring an end to this? Instead, you're like, no. Right. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, they did this in 2016 when he won too. And it's like, all right, it's been 4 years since he was last in. Things were kind of smoothing out. Why can't we just go back to that?
Yep.
Understand that these 4 years got out of hand. Hey, let's reel it in. I helped you. You helped me. Let's make this work. I give Trudeau credit. He said, no, I'm not going down there. Then he went down. Looked like they had a decent time together. Like, it definitely didn't.
Productive.
Yeah. The only person I saw who came over here and walked out looking kind of deflated was Zelensky. And I personally love that. But it's just like, again, what's Trump's goal? I want to end the wars, secure the border, build up this economy. What an evil man.
Right. And Will, clearly it works. Clearly it works. The day he's elected, The next day, you have ISIS go, hey, all the shit we've been, we're done. We're done. We're gonna walk this back. And then Zelensky gets on a Zoom and does this video conference where he says, we have already been working this out for 8 months. And with President Trump, we have come to a conclusion and we intend to reach a deal the first day he is in office. We know what that phone call was. Trump goes, yeah, listen, I'm going to let him steamroll you if you don't agree to not join NATO. So don't join NATO or don't be a country. Your choice, click. And he's like, oh, crap.
And then he called back immediately, and Trump was like, 2 rings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Putin said the same thing. We're working on a deal. The fact that Hamas started walking back some of their...
Well, it's like, think of the countries that are involved. We're not over there. We're just sending money over there. You think the Ukrainian people, the Russian people are thrilled that this war is going on? Particularly, I would even say more so the Russian people. Because I see videos coming out of Ukraine. Those people look all right. They don't look too stressed.
I wish there were stories I could truly share. And with the perspective of time, I intend to on a day. If the CIA doesn't hijack my car and take me into a tree. But
is your last name Kennedy?
Not yet.
Might be good.
He doesn't. They got to have daughters somewhere in there.
You might be good.
But
the Kennedy slogan, the seed is strong. They're all over the country.
I don't want to give away too much, but family intimate family member who is involved with the government and does work overseas for these types of conflicts. Mm-hmm. The fact that the feedback is the people don't want to be fighting this fight. It's almost like the war machine wants the money. It's almost like that's the case.
And again, think of how long it's been going on now. This was like what? Russia went in like 10 months into the Biden administration. It's coming on almost 4 years now.
Dude, I drive down our city road and you've seen the flags, you've seen the stickers on mailboxes. There's like one by my house where the person had wrapped a telephone pole, half yellow, half blue. Whatever. But like, I so badly want to just grab that person and go, why? Why? Why are you so passionate about this? We have a friend that we grew up with. Roxy would have a reason why.
Yes.
She's Ukrainian. She has family that's over there. If that's this person's life, put the crow on the plate. I'll eat it.
Totally understand.
But the truth is, I know en masse, statistically, that is not the likely predicament here.
Right.
It is likely a zombified, mindless Democrat moron who only champions the support for Ukraine because their team and the TV told them to do so. And that's where I think the crux of all of our position lies, is the people that stand. He's the president that's going to end all wars. He has said that, and he's done it in the past. He's going to continue to do that, or at least maintain that goal. Why, like you said, how can you find him damning at that point? And so you ask yourself, if him ending this war is so damning, but yet you want resolution in this war, what are you fighting for? And what are you trying to resolve?
I mean, truthfully, if Russia was truly serious of wanting to take Ukraine, they have the weapons that are capable of doing that. They haven't done it. They both want this to end.
Right.
It's like when Trump, during his campaign, I remember that one reporter tried to bait him in the one debate, like, pick a side. Are you for Ukraine? He's like, I just want people to stop dying. It's like, it's simply that. Why is that such a controversial take? Why is that just such a, like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that? It's like, doesn't that seem pretty rational? Like,
shouldn't that be what you're calling for?
Yes. But it comes down to, like, no, you got to pick a side. It's like Israel and Palestine. You got to pick a side. Why can't this just end?
Well, and that's, again,
why can't we just stop with the funding, stop instigating, promoting these proxy wars? Why is that like a hot take? I don't get this.
Because what you are holding a mirror up to is how the American political system has consciously, through its mechanism, killed the moderate.
Mhm.
You can't be moderate.
No.
You are red or you are blue. Purple is damning. In fact, if you want to even lean blue, if you hold any red pieces, the blue team calls you red. And you're not allowed to be purple.
And funny enough, it's like personally, I wish the entire country was purple. I think
Yeah.
the conversations would be so much more healthier and productive.
I love you saying that because a position I've held for the longest is that real people, and if they're not just talking the talking points and just speaking from their heart, the more you talk to people, the more you realize we all pretty much agree on anything. We're all pretty much purple. We are moderate. It's how convicted are you in the cult? Because the cult's on both sides.
Yes,
and
it is.
you got to be willing to make these concessions. Like back to the Hunter Biden thing. You got to be willing to go on CNN. You can't fight when finally somebody on your panel is going, this is messed up. Why can't you say that's messed up? Why are you refusing to say it's messed up? That makes you look worse. Whereas you would make me believe when you try to sell me the next lie, it would be easier for me to be fooled by it if you at least put on the ruse that you were trying to hold yourself to honesty, but you aren't. So I am left to believe everything around me is a lie, and all those lies are targeted at murdering the moderate. That's what the point boils down to, is because that's where the war is. If we all were moderate, if we all were purple, there's nobody voting Democrat and there's nobody voting Republican. We have independent parties that can flourish here, and that's a monopoly we can't give up yet.
No, I agree. It's something that it's a change that I don't see this country personally making. You know, funny enough, our founding fathers, for as horrible and racist as they were smart enough to know that they shouldn't have done it back then, and let alone it did devolve very shortly after into that. But I mean, brilliant men had brilliant ideas 300 years ago, and today we're arguing over people defending the sitting president pardoning his crackhead son.
God, what a world.
Our founding fathers just must be so proud of us, guys. I mean, just so proud of us.
Dude, I hope they're in hell looking up laughing.
Yeah.
I just like, look at them. Look at our empire burning. It's burning.
And then Caesar walks up. Been there.
Caesar's like, Caesar, hey, at least they didn't stab you like 50
By
times.
everybody.
And then Kennedy walks around the corner. He's like, beg your pardon.
Yeah. There's worse.
So, hey, Kennedy walked around the corner. He's like, it's true. I didn't even see it coming.
It's true. It stinks. I was pretty once.
It's like Britney Spears in South Park.
Yeah. All right, let's
God.
land this plane. Bring it to the Pickle Gallery. Silent, what are your rapping thoughts?
Look, at the end of the day, as we said, it can be a good thing for us to diplomatically solve issues, because as history has shown us, the best way to solve issues is not through war, but through diplomacy, because diplomacy works when both sides can get something that can benefit them. Then things will happen. But if we start to tariff each other and we start to like throw blockades at each other and sanctions at each other, it's really just going to make things worse for the average person, right? Because at the end of the day, all of these tariffs are going to affect the average person the most, because the rich people in the top 10, top 5, top 1% people in the country, they don't care that the price of things increased 25% because their assets have increased by 100%. You know,
right?
And they already all have enough money to be set for generations. So at the end of the day, like all of these tariffs and all of these things will affect just the average person really the most at the end of the day. And I think the best way to do it is, you know, just like Trudeau did, go and kiss the ring, go and talk, go and have dinners together, you know, talk it out. Camp David, you know, like old school diplomacy, you know, let's just get stuff done. Let's sign deals. Let's make peace treaties. Let's not like hurl insults at each other, because at the end of the day, the world, this world is like so far from each other, but we're also so close from each other due to globalization.
Right.
So if we unite with each other, we will make the world a better place at the end of the day. because war doesn't really benefit most people. It only benefits like a tiny percentage of people. That is a military-industrial complex and all its associates. But if we want benefit for everybody, then diplomacy is the way to go.
You're here.
No, you're dead on.
It's like
Ricky.
that quote, right? Well, like war never changes. It's like still hasn't.
Right. Right. Ricky, what are your rapping thoughts?
Maybe she should ask for help to fight the mini armies she has going on in her country. And then, you know, a lot more stuff can flow a little better. But she probably got up on the wrong side of the bed. It's her time. She's up in age. She's probably feeling a little hot, you know. So she just wanted to reply really hot, you know. She's emotional.
Been there. Now, I don't know. I don't want to say Ricky was implying anything, but you never know. I like Silent's point about diplomacy and how it works. But the basis of how he explains that point is we shouldn't be hurling insults at each other. And we project on Trump that he is the one that kind of spits the poison and flings insults. But they're calculated insults. Like, we looked at calling Kim Jong-un Rocket Man as reckless, and it will go down in history as one of the most like prolific correspondence between world leaders.
Dude, he called him
and it worked.
He called him Rocket Man, and then months later he's in a video. He's like, do we all look good? Do we all look really thin? And then it pans over to Kim Jong, and he's like, but I agree. Like, there's something like he's the art of the deal, the calculated use of leverage and being able to bluff. Like, he's mastered it.
Right.
Like, whatever your opinions of the man are, it's like whether you like the way he does it or don't like the way he does it.
What was the line? Here you called women fat and ugly, and he's like, no.
Rosie O'Donnell.
The
funniest too.
So, like, again, he does hurl insults.
Oh, yes.
But what were you gonna? I don't want to.
Just the funny enough too when he did that, it was like Megyn Kelly, who they famously got into a feud shortly after, and then months ago, she was like talking at the RNC, like helping him out. Like, right when she asked that, if you get the time, go back and look at Trump during the Republican primary of 2016. Just a legendary run of just handling the crowd. But he like grabs the mic and just goes like this. He just like gets a smirk, kind of adjusted. He's like, only Rosie O'Donnell. And it's just like, wow.
So bring it back to my point. He does make insults, but they're not in such a way that they're not productive. And at first you may not see it as productive, but with the perspective of time, either it's never disrupted the deal, disrupted peace, disrupted at us reaching the goal. In fact, if anything, at the worst, it's a comedic anecdote. At its best, it actually does help facilitate the correspondence.
Dude, he's like an MMA fighter. You know what I mean? It's like he knows how to promote a fight. He knows how to like hurl insults, and then after the fight, they're always like, it's just part of the game, man.
And so why do I make that comment? Because while we look at him as a recluse that just like runs around just spitting poison with no calculated agenda, we then, because we're blinded by that, turn the cheek and ignore all these world leaders that definitely don't have a pot to piss in comparison to as Silent indicates, American aid, American protection, American military service. And there's just to me, I'm just taking it back by like, I understand, lady, you're new to this world and you got to learn. And sometimes that lesson comes learning the hard way. But Trump never said a word to you. Never had a bad word to say. Do you truly believe this is the best foot to start off on with this guy? And so I only made the point so much about Trump's use of insults because it doesn't cripple him, and people try playing his game back at him, and it only hurts them. Like, this isn't going to benefit any of the world leaders that are challenging or belittling. I mean, look at England. You guys made a like Thanksgiving blimp-sized blow up of Trump as a crying baby. And within the same week, this was the 2016 election.
Yeah, I remember.
Then
this.
within the same week, you had a life-size naked version of literally it's just Trump naked in the street. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
This isn't one of our stupid comedians holding a severed head, his bloody head. This is a country making a political exclamation by, like, imagine if we did that with anybody, especially the Jewish Mexican president. Like,
I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name, but I was thinking of like Muhammad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right? Like, what if you did that about Kim Jong-un? It's like, you guys act like he has no restraint. I really don't like how people project upon him his political analysis or the way the way he operates in the political arena. Well, everybody's just afraid he'll push the button. Nobody thinks he's pushing the button. If you do, you're a dumbass. I did not vote for him thinking he's actually hovering his hand over the nuke button. I know in my heart why I cast that vote 3 times is knowing that guy is going to do everything in his power to avoid ever pushing that button. And I'm sorry, if you believe he's just sitting there hovering his hand over the button, aren't you the bigger asshole when a guy's about to push a nuke and you're making a statue of him naked in the middle of the street? You're challenging him and saying, me selling your country drugs that's killing you en masse is your fault and your problem? What are you trying to do here?
He really doesn't get enough credit for the amount of restraint
That's
he
what I
did
mean.
have in his first presidency,
Right?
And especially coming into this time too. Speaking of like he can use antagonistic words, he has hardly done that this time around.
Yes.
Like truthfully, he did against Kamala during the campaign, but that's because he was running against her. But like in terms of like other foreign leaders, like I can't think of like any in recent months where he's like gone after them by any means. So when I read that letter you sent, I didn't get it. I'm like, what is with this passive aggressiveness? Like, why can't it just be like, you know what? I would really like to set a meeting up in Mar-a-Lago before like, he's in office. Maybe we can come to find like some common neutral ground, you know, try to like work on issues at the border, you know, even in not even regards to the tariffs.
Right.
Like, hey, kids are being transported, drugs being transported. Maybe let's try to cut down on that. How can we work simultaneously to do that? No, instead she just goes right after the bear.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, bears.
He must not be that much of a bear.
It's like bears. What are they protective of? Their cubs and their land. And it's like, yeah, he's going to have our backs.
But again, I look at this like all of the people that have been running around going, he's going to take our rights away. They just elected Hitler. If you truly, truly believed it, you would be fighting tooth and nail with every bit of your power to leave this country. The fact that you're staying and Hitler's about to take power tells me you don't really believe he's Hitler. So, applying that same logic to the Jewish Mexican president, you'll have a lady sit here and go, he's the worst, he's the devil, he's a recluse that's about to just blow up the world. But I'm going to keep punching him in the jaw until he reacts. It's like, well, if you really did think he was going to blow up the world, would you really be shaking the beehive?
Do you think it's going to get to a point where we're kind of like, please shake it?
We're there.
You know, like, because again, I read that letter. I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
You know, I read that letter. I couldn't believe it. And I was just like,
it's so hard language.
And like, Silent, I don't know what your thoughts on Trudeau are. I am not a Trudeau fan. I really do not like him, his policies, his politics, or just the way he kind of carries himself.
Yeah, or the way he treats his people.
Exactly.
He talks to them like they're
I
ants.
gave him credit when he was like, I'm not going down there. And then immediately went down there and it's like, yeah, they look like they had a cordial conversation.
Yeah.
It didn't look like he didn't go back up there going like, what an asshole.
Well, he probably did. And even then, still kiss the ring.
You know, but it's like for this female president to just kind of come in there. Like, who do you think's protecting you at the end of the day?
Right.
Like, I don't like that this country is the world police to this day. I really do not. Like, I do have a more nationalistic view, being like, rather protect their own borders, kind of keep it in house. Tired of all this foreign interference that we have. I understand why we have certain ones, but like to just immediately before the guy's even in there, gonna poke the bear, see what he does. Really? You want to play this game? I won at it last time, and you're new. You're new to all this, and you think you're gonna take me out how you took the others out? Highly doubtful. Hell, my people tried to do that and didn't even succeed. That's the truth of it all. And it's like people in Mexico, I'm curious what their thoughts are on their leader. You don't hear much
bizarre.
about it, but it's like the way I hear how she gets into power, I think of like probably funded by Israel, probably funded by BlackRock, probably funded by the cartel.
Bingo.
That's your leader. The leader of gangsters is leading your country. And it's the total opposite of the leader of our country. Our country is the people spoke.
Yep.
This is what we want. And you're poking him? Yeah. And you think half of this country is going to look down there and be like, man. I'm looking down there like,
get her.
Yeah, not like get her like that, but like,
yeah, humble
her.
FAF, baby.
Yeah.
Fuck around and find out. That's what this has come down to.
And it makes me, funny enough, Cenk Uygur, someone who I've never really agreed with, he's kind of come around, done the Jon Stewart, Bill Maher kind of transformation in these most recent months. It's kind of been like, this is the first time I feel optimistic about this country in a long, long time, because I finally realized like we're actually fighting against the machine. And it's like, well, welcome to the fight. Kind of been here for a minute now. Happy to have you here. These other leaders are being antagonistic. Like none of these other leaders were antagonistic towards Biden. Look how these last 4 years have gone.
Right.
Constant. Like we are in 3 proxy wars. You've been in one of them for almost 4 years now. Another one, almost 3. The border completely
Kicking
wide
the
open.
presidency off with the greatest success in Afghanistan we've ever seen. The whole thing's a sham. And what's funny is, like, one thing we really didn't directly address about that letter, you have the Mexican president directly concede. We're looking at you going, you're not, yes, you are run by the cartel, MS-13, BlackRock, and every other, and the Israelites. You're being controlled by bad actors. And really, you're not our problem. You have a sieve of a border, and your folks are just dying to leave your country. They are killing themselves trying to leave. That's how toxic and pitiful you've made your country. Again, why I'd love to go down there and just make them American citizens. Just pay into our social contract. They're good people. They deserve to be liberated and saved from the prison that they self-proclaim as a country. My problem isn't that border, and my problem, I don't like the cartel. I don't like their motives. I don't like what they make money on. There's so much less my problem. My problem is the other giant world leader that we are in a Cold War with, China, is using your dilapidated country as a sieve to just walk right in. So there are multiple towns that have been totally taken over by Chinese citizens. They don't speak English. They only speak Chinese. All of the shops, menus, stores, everything is in Chinese. And the fentanyl problem that's killing Ohio, but really killing all of America, that is the #1 killer in America. Not our guns, not our cops, fentanyl. And that is a Trojan horse poisoning us by China through your border to us. The fact that this Mexican president can acknowledge that in the letter, hey, it's not our fault China's using our holes to kill you guys. Like, to me, the fact that you can say, well, the real villain isn't us, it's the guy shoving the hand up our butt. It's like, the fact that you don't even see why that's a problem exclaims why this cannot go unaddressed. Not just her, the letter, but like the border situation. How do you appoint the border czar, our vice president, who was going to take over control and be the commander in chief, and go, this is your job, and it only gets worse?
You know, it's they're too funny enough. These two things, the Biden pardon and this letter, have come out in 2 days. And again, I can make the jokes like I think the Hunter Biden pardon is hysterical, because in a certain vein it is, but it's just two disappointing things after another. Yeah. It's like you see the failure of the current political climate happen in real time. Again, I'm not on their side, but I'm more just like, I cannot believe another political party has devolved into this. And then I look at foreign leaders still, after all this time, finding a way to just be aggressive. And it's not just, if China did this, I understand. But China has enough smarts and
enough
wit
sense
to know, like, all right, he's going to come to the table. Let's talk.
Yeah.
But the president straight to the south of us at our border.
Right. And like it Silence said, the one that we should probably, neighboring country we should have the most intimate relationship with.
Wants to antagonize. For what end? What are you hoping to accomplish with this? Are the tariffs really going to bother you that much? Or us securing our border is going to bother you that much? What about that really bothers you?
Right.
You know, and we know, we have common sense. We get it. But for like your average American, I went on Twitter and I saw people, I read the comments under that. People are like, oh yeah, you show him, slay queen, go after him. Love it. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you're promoting that behavior?
That's what I mean.
Like, it makes no sense. And here's the problem is, you're promoting that behavior by someone who probably sucks at bluffing.
Yeah. Because what is your bluff? Do you have nukes? Oh, no. You hide behind our nukes.
Yeah.
Funny how that works. Yeah, so let's land this plane. I had already wrapped up my point, which was revolving around diplomacy and how it works, like Silence said, and how I just find it just absurd that there's people hurling insults at the person they say has no self-control and would blow us up. So clearly there's a logical failure here. Clearly he either, will take the high road, or I don't know, you're stupid and you're trying to blow us all up. Like we both know what's going on here. So any rapping thoughts on the topic?
No, I think I've literally touched it all. You know, the only levity this entire podcast brought me was that Karen on CNN. That was the only funny part. Like everything else, like I'm optimistic about what's going to happen. I don't think anything is going to come of that letter. It's just disappointing to see. It's just like, come on. Like,
It's a political stunt.
It's a political stunt, and it didn't need to be made. I don't think you proved anything. All it proved to me was like, man, I hope we're even harder on you guys down there. Truthfully.
Bingo.
I could have my disagreements with Trudeau and the way Canada runs its policies, and I'm sure Silent would agree to that to a certain degree. I could at least respect them to coming to the table.
Right.
Have a conversation. That's all we ask for. You know, we're the United States of America. There's a reason. Bring back that prestige. And I know Trump is going to do that.
He's already done it, and he's not even in office.
Not even there yet. He's still partying.
The clock hasn't even started.
He's still partying in Mar-a-Lago with a glass of water. That's how he's doing it. And they want to antagonize him. And the whole time, I just know he's got his team there. He's like, tweet this.
And it's funny. The other political side had cocaine found in the war room under the White House. That's the balance here. But we just keep scratching our heads wondering why the American public spoke the way they did.
I'm really looking forward to our conversations in 2 months from now when it's February and it's only been a few weeks.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I can't
really
wait
looking
for that.
forward to those.
Right. Doug, rapping thoughts.
We should just make Mexico the 51st state. Canada can stay Canada. Let's make Mexico the 51st.
That's a wrapping thought. All right, let's bring in the pickle gallery here. Silent, Ricky, thank you for joining us, and thank you to everybody that joined us for the whole episode. Before we get into the spiel, Silent, tell them where they can find you.
Kick.com/SilentDestroyer. We're live every single day.
Hey, love it, love it. Ricky, how about you? You're muted. I think we lost your.
You're outside,
mic.
man. Speak louder.
Am I muted?
Now you're back.
Now you're good.
Oh, I was saying just another day TV, the right way. If you guys find me, find me. If y'all don't, somebody will. They'll enjoy the content.
If you don't find me, somebody will. I like that. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. We go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We got all these different shows, like Will indicated. Our Sunday shows are a lot of fun. We do the Rethink Actions, Doug and I do. It's a fun internet show of just the crazy internet videos that we can get together with interesting themes each week. And it's a palate cleanser to get away from all the tense politics we always break down. And then follow it up if you're a football fan and you're getting ready for your fantasy league each week. Join us for the Sunday Football Review as we review each week's interesting topics that happen in football, and also just things to expect going into the week so you can prepare your rosters well. But we've got all kinds of different shows. We got the podcast that comes out each week along with this live show and other content. So you can find it all in one central place, and that's at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. Now, remember, the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. So I appreciate everybody that joined us live. Be sure to be diving in the comments so your perspective can add a little bit of a dimension to our dialogue here. But be sure, if we made you laugh, if we made you think, the best you could do to support this show, because we're fighting algorithms that just don't want us having fun with you. The best that you could do to support the show is hit the like button, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything moving forward. But otherwise, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.